Hello and welcome. I'm Amanda Clark. I'm an advanced accredited practicing dietitian, and my interest really is helping people feel more in control of their eating. Today, we're going to hone in on how portion control and associated strategies might be able to help you feel more in control of your eating. Now, you probably know that I created Portion Perfection, and I actually feel really proud that hundreds of thousands of people around the world own at least one of my Portion Perfection tools. It never ceases to amaze me. In fact, if you have a Portion Perfection product, just let me know in the chat what you have so I know what's new and what's old hat. Also tell me if you have none of them. And feel free to make use of that chat along the way. I will be keeping an eye on that. Here's how the weights of people in Australia, the US and the UK have been increasing in the period between 1975 and 2016. You can see we've gone from 40% of people being technically overweight or above to 65%. And there's no sign of this letting up. And when you look at that, there wasn't even a single year on there where there wasn't an increase. Now, there are so many things that influence our drive to eat. So here's a nice list, but you know, if I think long and hard about this, I can probably come up with some more things to add to this list. But these are the things that I watch out for when I'm working with someone. So mindless eating just means not getting that full satisfaction from food because we're multitasking. We're not paying attention to it. There's no conversation happening between our mouth and our brain that's really registering that we're eating. Nutrition and the balance of foods that we eat can drive us to eat more than we need. Food availability is certainly something that can impact how much we eat. If it's there, we eat it. I can see I missed exercise on there, which makes sense. Exercise can drive appetite. Gut bacteria, and I think gut bacteria has an interesting and not fully understood effect on our eating, but we're learning all the time. Our hormones are really significant, whether that be thyroid hormones, sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and also our gut appetite hormones. For some reason, they're telling us the wrong thing. Stress, and with stress, that's affecting our brain chemicals, and the stress hormones actually push us to store abdominal body fat. Our metabolism and the way our body stores and uses fuel, which is why it's getting harder to use up stored fat. And why is that? It's definitely the case. And I regularly send people for testing, and I regularly see that people are struggling. I think somebody's still got their microphone on. If you could just mute, I think that might be you, Trish. Thank you. Our eating behavior can have an effect on how much we feel like eating. The routine of our eating is really important. You know, if we eat at particular times in the day, then our body knows how to work with us, and it will actually work your appetite and your satisfaction and your insulin and a whole lot of other things about your body. Your digestive juices can all be created in response to that routine. And just other people, you know, what other people are eating and what they're doing around us really influences us. And then marketing. So marketing adds more people to our mix of contacts. So not just the people that we are actually eating with, but also the people who are not even real people. They still impact what we see as normality. They send us messages to indicate what's normal eating. But those people have a hidden agenda. There's also chemicals. So chemicals in our food, chemicals in our environment, and chemicals from the the food packaging or the way we carry our food transferring into our food. And I actually suspect that that's a significant part of what's affecting our hormones and why it's so hard for us to use stored fat. And then we've got portion size. So we know that the amount of food in front of us influences how much we're going to eat. This is the focus of this session. We are also planning on a monthly webinar. So over time, we'll delve into a lot of these other issues. But let's start by looking at portion control and what's changed over the years. So over the years, we know that portion sizes have grown, and you've probably noticed it about some of the foods that you've grown up with. If you can think of any portion sizes that have changed over your lifetime, just enter that in the chat. We know that portion sizes began to grow in the 1970s. They rose really sharply in the 80s, and they've actually continued. There's been more multi-packs introduced, which kind of feels like a good thing, particularly with the chocolate bars. Maybe they're mini chocolate bars, but there's 24 of them or 12 of them in that pack. And because they're so small, it's really easy to eat multiple. And so sometimes you can end up eating more than that original individual size. There's more income being spent on foods outside the home. And when it's outside the home, you haven't got so much control over the portion size. So the person in the kitchen is deciding how much you get to eat. And the chances are you're going to eat whatever's served to you. So whether you're man, woman, or child, the kitchen's going to give you the same, yet your needs are very different. We know that company profit rises as portion size increases. So the bigger packs, although it seems like a cheaper price, so better value for the shopper, it's also better profit for the company. And the bigger the package they make, the more that package becomes a billboard on the supermarket shelf. So those really big cornflake packets that we've seen over the years certainly take up more space and make that brand more prominent. Yeah, meal deals, upsizing, you're right. 2 for the price of 1. And I can remember a few years back when the king size Mars bars and Snickers were released, the UK company that produces Snickers and Mars, they put out a media release saying that the obesity crisis was a problem and they were going to do their bit. And so what they'd do is they'd split their bar into 2 so that you could share it. But who shares it? You know, once you've opened that package, you're highly likely to eat both pieces. If we wanted 2 pieces, we could just buy 2 packets if you just put 1 in a packet. And part of the problem is us, that we really look for value for money. I can see, Helena, that when she moved to Japan 15 years ago, she was hungry after having a meal in restaurants, and it took 3 months for her stomach or appetite to adjust. And that's really where we need to go. We really need to go to sushi-sized food. And that way you can always go back for more, but once you've got something on your plate, you're highly likely to eat it. So items are supposedly individual, like cookies, bars, but when you check the nutrition panel, yes, I've got an example of that. And chocolate usually melts into one anyway. So you might know that 30 years ago, coffee in the UK, the US, or Australia was mainly made on water. It came in that polystyrofoam cup on the right-hand side. And even if you added milk and 2 teaspoons of sugar, the most you had in there was about 85 calories. But now you can get syrups and cream, and they're made on milk, which can potentially scale you up in that bigger cup to about 480 calories, which actually becomes equivalent to a roast dinner. I think this perhaps is a good time to look at a couple of other examples. This is a picture I took some time ago at a cafe across the road from my clinic. On the left-hand side, you can see an old-fashioned patty cake or cupcake, which contains about 150 calories. Now, to give you a bit of an idea, when we look at the average amount of energy that an adult needs to consume, and we divide it up between 3 meals and 3 snacks, a snack would be between 100 and 200 calories. And I would say 100 calories for weight loss, 200 calories for weight maintenance, or 300 calories for weight gain when I'm trying to help somebody to manage their weight. So a cupcake at 150 calories was fine. We could get away with that. The one on the right is a Texas muffin, which I'd estimate based on its weight to contain about 1,000 calories. And that's actually before they squirt some cream on the side of the plate and you order a milk-based coffee to go with it. The typical muffins that you'd get from a muffin store are about 500 calories. So they're sitting in between there, but again, they're about the roast dinner. Now, just to point out the difference between portion size and serving size. Now, serving size is a recommendation, and a portion size is the amount that we actually end up eating. Now, in the US, there is some regulation around serving size, but that still doesn't affect the package size or the amount anybody eats, because nobody's really looking at that serving size as the guide to how much to eat. And, you know, recently they've reviewed those serving sizes and found that they're ridiculously small compared to the average amount of food that people are eating. In Australia, it's up to the manufacturer to decide what the serving size is. And that serving size is used in the percentage daily intake. And it's easily manipulated, and sometimes it's difficult to interpret. Yeah, Claire, so often it'll say 40 grams of cereal, but what is that? Here's a nice example of Smarties. Now, this is a 50-gram box. Now, some of you may remember the size of a Smarties box from maybe 20 years ago. It was probably half as wide as this. And it was pretty common that you would actually pour the Smarties into your mouth. They were definitely considered as a single serve. And I think that this one looks like a single serve as well. What they've done there with the energy is that the largest thing there on the percentage daily intake says that it's 330 kilojoules and it's 4% of your daily intake. So that seems like nothing. In the finer print underneath, it says per 16.5 gram serve, approximately 15 Smarties. So there's actually 3 serves in that box, and it's not even particularly easy to see when you're a third of the way through. I think it's highly unlikely that anybody's going to share that with 3 people. And I think the general rule is going to be that people are consuming all of that at once. They've also got it on the back. So they do have this know your portions and pointing out that it's 15 Smarties. Here we've got 3 different sized Mars bars, an 18-gram one, a 36-gram one, and a 53-gram one. And they're all actually described as 1 serve. Same with the soft drinks. You can actually get a 200 ml can now. So the 200 ml can, the 370 ml can, the 425 ml bottle, and the 600 ml bottle are all described as a single serve. And then the next one up is a 1 litre bottle, and that serves 4. So you can be forgiven for wondering what an appropriate serve actually is. Renee says, in a biscuit packet, you have to work out the whole packet and divide by how many biscuits each one is. Yeah, just tell us per piece. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many of you know what a Cochrane review is, but it's the highest standard of review of the evidence in healthcare. So they've reviewed the research on portion control. In the area of portion control, they found that people eat more when they're offered larger portions or larger packages, or they use larger forks and spoons. And they indicate that reversing this could turn that original graph around if it could be done on a global basis. The goal is to reduce the size, the availability, and the appeal of larger portion sizes. Now, portion control might not be any more important than anything else that we saw on that original list of influences, but it is one component that is within our understanding and within our control. It's standing right in front of us, and small decisions in this area can translate to big differences in the energy end part of the equation that can occur without us feeling deprived. We know that the bigger the plate, the more food we will serve onto that plate. And once there's more food on that plate, the more we're going to eat. In fact, the bigger the spoon, the bigger the bowl, the bigger the glass, the bigger the mug, the bigger the food package, the bigger the serving vessel, so the bowl that the food is when you're serving yourself from that bowl, or the bigger the serving utensil, or the greater the variety on offer, or the more accessible and visible the food is, the more we eat without significant awareness. So if we could change some of those things, it would be one of the most painless places to start. I also learned very early on that my clients forget 90% of what I tell them. Now, I can improve on that if I give them a handout. But if I can show you how to do something and you can take that tool and use it for yourself, you can understand and retain up to 80% of my message. And that is golden. If we're going to do something about this, we have to keep doing it. People tell me all the time that they do things for a while and then they stop. And that is the strongest reason why diets don't work. It's because we stop. The key to maintaining a behavior change is that we need to make a trigger obvious. There are so many distractions in this world that if there isn't a visual trigger, you're going to forget. So having something visual sitting in the plate drawer is a great reminder. It needs to be attractive from the view that we like doing it. If it takes a lot of willpower to do it, you're going to stop one day. So it's probably not worth starting. It needs to be easy, so easy that it becomes second nature. And it needs to be satisfying. It needs to move you in the direction of your goals and make you feel good about the results. What else have we got here? The plates are huge. We've changed to using the side plates and they are still a good size. And Tracy says, I've even found this in health foods, a new gut health seed mix, which I was recommended to have as a cereal substitute with berries and yogurt for breakfast. One serve is 9 grams or 2 tablespoons, which is tiny. It's really helpful for habit formation if you've got a system. So how did portion perfection come about? Well, aside from knowing about the things that make us eat more and the need for visuals for showing people, what I know is that if I give you a dietary plan, a menu, that can work. And I might do such a good job with your likes and dislikes and your cooking skills that you love it and it puts you in control of your weight. but it doesn't really teach you anything. And one day you're going to stop following that plan because you're bored. If I can teach you a system where you can see how I made my decisions in creating that original eating plan, then you can do it for yourself and you can substitute any food you like, meaning you can eat whatever you like within the system. A system is just a pattern. And if I start teaching you something and you recognize the pattern, you can jump ahead of me and keep going. So portion perfection is my system for helping you to be consistent and to manage the influencer called portion size, which drives you to eat more than you needed without your awareness. I've factored in nutritional strategies such as low glycemic index, low sugar, protein, and healthy fats to divide foods into everyday and occasional choices. I created the first portion perfection tools about 20 years ago, and a lot of people and businesses have actually copied my tools over the years. But what I've always noticed is that they didn't actually completely get all the aspects of the tool. They left some important components out. So I figure that if businesses copying my products miss details, then probably some of my customers do too. So I encourage you to listen to the key benefits and features of each of the products to see if there's even more you can draw from using them. So even if the plate seems very straightforward and you didn't read the booklet because you really knew how to use it, there may be something that you've missed. So at the risk of turning this into seeming like a Tupperware party, I'm going to suggest that you do open your shop of choice. If you've got the opportunity to open it in another tab or on another device, there's a discount code on the screen. Just write that down. But even if you don't want to purchase anything now, if you see something that interests you, just put it in your cart and it'll stay there. The websites have a permanent cart. So once you're in the website, go to the right section. There's a weight loss section and a bariatric section. I'll just give you a moment to do that. Yeah, the serving size of wine too. I was actually telling a story recently that I was staying in a holiday apartment, so they weren't my wine glasses, but we've just posted the links to the websites in case you're having any trouble copying, so that you can just copy and paste. The champagne glasses were beautiful. They were enormous. And we had 4 friends over. So there were 6 of us and we pulled out a bottle of champagne, and it felt uncomfortable to actually only be pouring half a glass. So we actually poured the glass to virtually full, and we actually ran out of the bottle on the 4th glass. So each glass was a quarter of a bottle, and technically there's 7 glasses in a bottle of champagne. Yes, there'll be a recording sent to everybody. So having a look at the components. My wine glasses hold a whole bottle of Moscato. Wow, good on you, Claire. So looking at the books, the purple book is for men, women, or children, and the orange one is specifically for people who have had bariatric surgery. And the books are really where the system starts. And it came from many years of working out meal plans and recognizing the pattern in what I was doing. The books are divided into the meals. For example, breakfast has a menu of everyday choices, including toast with something on it, omelets or eggs, cereals, fruit and yogurt, smoothie, and then occasional choices. So less healthy choices as well, which just recognizes that we all eat these things sometimes. And if we knew how much to have in those situations, it wouldn't be such a disaster. The occasional choices are breakfast biscuits, bacon and eggs, pancakes, crumpets, bagels, croissants, and fast food. So you decide what you're having, and then on the serving page, it shows you how much to eat for your needs. Yeah, so Orange Book, same thing. I did want to say that I have had people contact me saying that they're very surprised to see a dietitian include some of these foods in a nutrition book. And what I say is that everybody's got their own health moral. Some people have very high health morals. For example, they may only eat organic foods. Others have very low health morals. They've got other focuses in life. They've got other problems. They're not particularly interested in thinking too much about food. My goal is to meet you where you are and lift you up a little higher. I really felt the need to just be all-encompassing and recognise that we all eat less healthy foods at least sometimes, and knowing what to do or how much meets our energy needs is really important. So if you, for example, don't eat packaged foods, I'm not trying to persuade you to do so, but I am showing the foods that meet my criteria to appear as an everyday food, and you can choose for yourself. Question, do we sell the Orange Book by itself? Yeah, anything you can get as an individual product. So you can find all of those things on the sites. Just to show you how the Purple Book caters for the varying needs of men, women and children, because there is a broad range of energy needs there. The chart at the top forms the basis for the system. It says that if you're a woman aiming to lose weight, I've recommended that we start with 1,300 calories, and I've color coded that pink. Now I have included the details of the calories or the kilojoules, but all you really need to do is follow the color code. You'll also see that there's guidance on how to maintain weight. And I think that's really important too, because there is a long term, and we really want the long term to be not much different from the now. The least amount of change that you need to make between what you're doing now and what you need to do to lose weight, and then what you need to do to lose weight and what you need to do to maintain weight, the better. In the bottom chart, you can see that there's two options for the pink guide. So this happens to be the chart from the toast and toppings page. One of the choices has 2 breads and 1 add-on, and the other one has 1 bread and 2 add-ons. There's 100 calories in each component, so either way, they add up to 300. Okay, Chris, you're saying that sometimes when it's just half a banana that you're not sure what to do with the other half of the banana, and so you wonder whether to just eat it. A good thing to do with a leftover part of a banana is to slice it up and put it in a bag in the freezer, and it's great for putting in a smoothie. The pictures on the actual page, so here's the toast and toppings kind of double page. They indicate the serving size. So the first option, it's 1 of the bread serves, 2 of the add-on serves, and 1 of the free serves. So the free serves are things that hardly contain any calories, like the tomato or the cup of tea or a few strawberries or something. By the same token, you don't need to pay attention to the calories there. You can just see that it's 1 of these, 2 of these, 1 of these, and that keeps it nice and simple. If we zoom in on the page, you'll see that the images show the correct amount, and then the number in the blue dot in the pictures is the number of grams of protein found in that serve. I recognise I didn't make that very clear in the Purple Book last time, but it'll be fixed up in the next ones. In the books, about the first 50 pages is about how portion sizes have changed, and a bit of nutrition education about glycemic index and reading food labels, etc. I will also say that you can see in this image that I've got a brand name yogurt. For the overseas edition, so the US edition or any overseas country, I've stuck mainly with generic foods because I'm not so familiar with the brands, but the concept is the same. One of the best things about the system is you get the actual plate and the bowl that you see in the pictures, so you know you're getting it right. The book is divided into breakfast, snacks, lunches, and dinners. The plates are designed to convey 3 key messages. The first one is about nutritional balance, and that's the division. So that's suggesting that it's a healthy balance to consume 1/4 of the volume of your meal as protein-based foods. So that's your red meat, chicken, fish, egg, nuts, legumes. 1/4 as carbohydrate foods, ideally low glycemic index carbohydrate foods, and 1/2 as salad or other vegetables. On the right, you can see the bariatric plate. Now that's a little bit different, and that's because we've got a defined need for protein. And even once your stomach is really small, we still have to get in the same amount of protein. So something has to suffer. And so we see the carbohydrate as the least important in the equation. It's really important to get some low starch vegetables because they actually feed those good gut bacteria. So that's nutritional balance. Then we've got portion size. So with the standard plate on the left, if you fill just the base of the plate, 2 centimeters deep in the middle with your quarter, half, you've got 350 calories, which is the right amount for women aiming to lose weight. When we space food out, we look at the average woman's need, and then we aim to take off a margin for weight loss. And what we aim to take off is about 500 calories. Everybody's metabolism's a little bit different though, so we suggest starting there. If you fill out to the edge on the standard plate, 2 centimeters deep in the middle, quarter, half, you've got 450 calories, which is the right amount for women aiming to maintain weight or for men aiming to lose weight. And then when it comes to men aiming to maintain weight, we add a little extra something. So in fact, it's really only men aiming to maintain weight who have enough space to have dessert straight after a meal. Who knew? The bariatric plate, if you fill just the base of the plate, 2 centimeters deep in the middle, that makes up 1 cup. And that's the amount that will help to maintain the original or the ideal size of the stomach pouch after any of the bariatric surgeries. Thanks for pointing that out, Renee. I appreciate that you find the plate is a good stopping point. Sometimes we need to rely on external portion control measures. You know, there's a lot of discussion about intuitive eating and really deciding how much do I feel like eating. But sometimes we want to eat more mindlessly. Sometimes we have to eat more mindlessly because we are doing other things or we don't have enough brain space to really think those things through. So having a fallback mechanism, which is the habit, is what will carry us through. When you've got enough headspace to really think about it all, you can change your plan on that day. So Anne-Marie, you've said, I don't understand how much on the plate for bariatric. So on the bariatric plate, we're just filling the base of the plate, 2 centimeters deep in the middle, with half of it being protein, which actually gives you close to the same amount of protein that you see on the standard plate. And then the other half is ideally half low starch vegetables. So the broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, beans, zucchini, cabbage, all of those sorts of vegetables. And then there's that little dotted line for the carbohydrate. And so that's an optional area to put a bit of carbohydrate if you choose to. And so the total there, when you're just filling that space 2 centimeters deep, is about a cupful. I hope that makes sense. All of the plates and bowls are available in melamine or porcelain. Melamine can't go in the microwave, but porcelain can, and it's also much nicer to eat off. I've also provided guidance in the purple book for how you use the carbohydrate section if you don't want to actually have carbohydrate. For a variety of reasons, you might be reducing your carbohydrate, or you might just not want to have carbohydrate at that meal. So maybe you're having a salad, but you want to have feta cheese in your salad rather than having pasta, for example. The purple book on page 25 shows you a different way to use that carbohydrate section. So it can either be used for a smaller portion of high-fat foods like cheese or nuts or avocado, or it may also be substituted for extra oil, and that extra oil may be in the form of a pesto sauce that's on the protein, or it may represent that the protein component has been fried on this occasion, and so we'll take away the carbohydrate section and suggest that the oil that's appearing, that's been absorbed into the protein section, is taking the place of the calories of the carbohydrate. So that 2 centimeters, if you don't speak in centimeters, is 3/4 of an inch. And there's one other way that you can use that carbohydrate section, and that is that when we look at the carbohydrate and the protein on the standard plate, there's exactly the same calories in the protein component as there is in the carbohydrate section. So they're actually interchangeable. You could move that divider down and have a nice big piece of fish and salad and forget the carbohydrate. So that gives a couple of extra options. The Portion Perfection bowl shows cup measures on the inside. So it's easy and you don't need to use measuring cups. It's great for pouring cereal to the right mark in the bowl. And it's small at the base. So it took a lot of design to make sure that our bowl was narrow enough at the base so that 1/4 of a cup actually created some depth. If you use some of the nice big shallow bowls, 1/4 of a cup of muesli is really just a sprinkling, and it just doesn't feel like enough. All the snacks that you see in both the purple and orange guides include 100-calorie snacks for weight loss or 200-calorie snacks for weight maintenance. So it's really useful to be able to easily portion out 100-calorie serves of healthy snacks easily. So that's where the snacker comes in. So I've got one here. Where can I see myself? So they all clip together. So that 4 come together, but you don't need to use all 4. You can just leave at home any that you're not using. You can also combine 2 packs if there's 2 snacks that you like to have that come in the same size container. So for example, nuts belong in the smallest container, but so does hummus. If you're going to put hummus in the small container and say carrot sticks in the large container, the 2 of them together form one snack. And if you also wanted to take almonds, it's handy if you've got a second snacker kit so that you can just take the almond section then. So each of the containers is a different size. They all clip together. There's the little handle that can clip onto any of the lids. And it's great for taking out with you so you don't find yourself looking for something to eat while you're out. So it's easy and it fits perfectly with the system. And we've got the preppers. And I created the preppers to enable you to pack your plate's worth of food and take it out with you, or to meal prep for another day so that you can make up a few days' meals, put them in the freezer or put them in the fridge. They're pretty self-explanatory. There's indications on the containers as to what to put in each section. The Porti-Prepper, which is goes with the purple book, that shows depth markings. So there's a depth for women or a level to fill to for women, and then for men you fill completely to the top. So those sections in the Porti-Prepper are 1 cup, 1 cup, 2 cups when they're filled for men, or 3/4 of a cup, 3/4 of a cup, 1.5 cups when it's filled for women. And they also show you the guidance for how deep it would be if you're putting in avocado cubes or feta cheese as your carbohydrate substitute. The Bari-Prepper is divided into 2 half-cup serves, so it's a total of 1 cup. Then we've got the kit and carry, and it's our on-the-go lunch kit, and it includes a prepper with it. There is a Bari kit and carry with the Bari-Prepper and the standard kit and carry with the larger Porti-Prepper. They also contain a snacker. They've also got an ice brick, a separate sauce or dressing container, a napkin, and a set of small-headed fork and spoon for slow, mindful eating, plus a handy spreader knife. And it's sharp enough to slice a tomato, but it's perfect for spreading avocado and it won't poke into anything. And it comes with a washable cutlery pouch. This one's a fairly new addition to the system, and it really solves the problem of what to take to work or for on the road. It's compact, and it's also got a fold-out pouch that you can put your own water bottle into. It doesn't come with a water bottle. It's really easy. It's got a shoulder strap, so you can strap over your shoulder if you're carrying other things into the office. And there's also a handle on the top. Now, I just realized that I forgot. I'm just going to jump back to this slide because I forgot to point out one of the important components of the plates, and that is mindful eating. So in the case of the portion plate, the main plate, the words around the outside represent what to think about while you're eating. That helps your brain to engage with the fact that you're eating and helps you feel satisfied on that smaller amount of food. And that's a strategy you can do anywhere, with a plate or without a plate, obviously. So the first is to have a look at the food, the presentation. What have I actually got here? What am I eating? How much am I eating? Notice the variety. So if it's a muesli bar, for example, what is it made of? Is that oats or is it wheat? Are they cranberries or are they raisins in there? What have I actually got? If it's grapes, are there seeds in my grapes? What am I noticing here? And then smell the food. What do you notice about the aroma? Try and put a word to it. Try and identify any of the ingredients that you can identify from the aroma. So there's actually 3 things to do before anything goes in your mouth. And I like to think of it as like a sacred tea ceremony. And I don't actually know anything about a sacred tea ceremony. All I know is that it's very ordered and it's very slow, and it's a long time before you actually get to dive in and drink the tea. So thinking about those 3 things before anything goes in your mouth. And then with every mouthful, notice the texture. Try and put a word to the texture. Imagine that you're a food critic and you need to write something about this. Hone in and decide on what that word is. Notice the temperature and notice how the temperature changes over time. Is it perfect at a particular time? Even if it's just a room temperature food, is it perfect at that room temperature? Do you think it would be nicer at a different temperature? If it started cold, how does the flavour change as it goes through? If it started hot, at what point is it the best flavour? And notice all the flavours. So sometimes imagine that you didn't see what you put in your mouth. Can you figure it out once it's in there? What is the difference between chicken and fish? Is it the texture? Or is it the flavour? So that's how to slow right down and enjoy the meal. When we look at the bariatric surgery plate, the words around that plate relate to the behaviours required to get the best tolerance of food after bariatric surgery. So the first one is your sitting position. And what that means is to be sitting upright. If you're actually slumped on a couch, for example, you're actually putting pressure on your stomach. And this probably actually applies to all of us. if anybody gets reflux, you want to be sitting upright so that your stomach has as much space as possible. Because when you've got pressure on your stomach, you create upward pressure up your esophagus and you're more likely to regurgitate food. For bariatric surgery, we're aiming to drink before the meal, significantly enough before the meal to know that that liquid has gone, and to not drink for at least half an hour after the meal. Because if the stomach pouch size is 1 cup and you've just eaten 1 cup, if you then drink a cup full of liquid, you've got 2 cups in there. And so we're stretching. You want to chop the food well. And this also applies to all of us, but particularly when you've got this particularly small stomach that doesn't have a lot of space for churning up food, because as soon as you put a particle of food in your stomach that's bigger than about the end of the size of the end of a straw, your stomach wants to grind it up. And a lot of us don't really realize that our stomach actually does so much movement. They think it's just a holding bag, but in fact, it's a muscular organ. And after bariatric surgery, there's not a lot of space for that grinding. So you want to do the job yourself by chopping. Use your knife and fork. And you want to chop things small enough to get through that circle at the base of the plate. That's what it's there for. You want things to be able to drop through. That circle is about the size of a 5-cent piece. Nibble means take small bites. And that enables you to take small swallows, which enables air to move past the food as the food moves down. You know, for any of us, if you swallow a big piece of meat and you haven't had bariatric surgery, you might find it's really uncomfortable going all the way down. When it finally gets down, you might burp, or, you know, there's some redistribution of air. When you've had bariatric surgery, you've got such a small stomach that air is pushed into it, it puffs out, it's full then, and then you've got upward pressure pushing the food back up. So you want that air to be able to get past the food. So if you ever have any problems with feeling like food's getting stuck partway down, chop it up better. Take smaller mouthfuls. Taste means go back and think about all those things we just talked about with respect to mindful eating. Still need to chew everything really well, pause between mouthfuls, relax, and enjoy the meal. And most of that applies pretty well to all of us, but it's really important if you've had bariatric surgery. Okay, let me jump back to where we were. So we do also have a hypnotherapy audio. You'll be pleased to know it's not my voice. It's a professional hypnotherapist named Taya Mikola. She's got an amazing voice. And she uses the script to help you to feel satisfied on smaller amounts of food, to remind you to use your portion plate, and to feel motivated to exercise. It's great for before bed or before you get out of bed in the morning, just to set you up for the day. It is available just as an audio file, or for those people who aren't very tech savvy, you can buy it on this little MP3 player. If you buy it as an audio file, you need to download it onto a computer that'll enable you to put it into your iTunes or wherever your music goes, so that you can then access it from your phone if that's what you want to do. And we've got the free vegetables cookbook. It's really great for finding interesting things to do with that half of your plate that is made up of low starch vegetables. It also goes perfectly with meal replacement shakes. So if anyone's on a pre-bariatric surgery plan, or we're experimenting with things, sometimes we might use shakes. Everything that's in that book is fine to go on a low carb diet. It actually really just helps you to make the vegetables the feature. You know, often we think, oh, well, I have chicken tonight or beef tonight, and that gets all the attention. Or even the carbohydrates, sometimes we're thinking we'll have pasta tonight or risotto tonight or something. But this enables you to really put your attention on the low starch vegetable and make them the key that your protein can then mix in with. This one's a new product of ours. It's actually a gift set of 4 heart-shaped ramekins. They're approximately half a cup, and they're perfect for making desserts or snacks in 100-calorie serves. So really good for little frittatas. And it comes with a recipe book that's got plenty of options to get you started, some sweet, some savoury. For those listening to the replay who are in the US, they're not quite on Amazon in the US yet, but they will be fairly soon. Then we've got the 4-week weight loss menu plan, and this one's a done for you meal plan for those who really like to know what to eat for every moment of the day. I created this with 3 other great dietitians, and the key features that make this different to other cookbooks are that it tells you how many to divide the dish into. So you can see there, this dish says that it serves 6 bariatric serves. It serves 4 weight loss for women serves, which was that pink guide from the purple book, or it serves 3 weight loss for men serves. There's a portion accurate photo. So the orange always goes with the orange book. Then we've got the pink weight loss for women, the red weight loss for men. There's a nutritional breakdown of your serve, of what you're actually eating. And there are some recipes that are just for one. And when there is a recipe for one, it shows you what your ingredients list is to make your portion-sized one serve. Each of the weeks has 3 versions of the menu plan. So the bariatric, the weight loss for women, and the weight loss for men. And so it's all the same food, but the different portion size. And I think the best thing is, if there's anything on the plan that you don't like, you just swap it. You know, all the breakfasts are interchangeable, all the snacks are interchangeable, all the lunches and dinners are interchangeable. So whenever anybody wants a fully planned out menu plan, I just encourage them to go for this, because in reality, giving someone a fully planned out menu plan with recipes is just like writing a whole new book. So here it's already been done for you. We do also have the Perfection wine glasses. So they've got a plimsoll line, so a line underneath that word perfection. It's a very subtle word and a subtle line. I don't want anyone to be necessarily thinking about it from a dietary perspective, but it's definitely obvious to you.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Oh,
could you please repeat it?
Sorry about that. So a 150 ml serve is where the plimsoll line is, and that represents a 100-calorie serve of red wine, white wine, or sparkling. And the way to substitute wine, it obviously fits into the occasional category, and that's where I might encourage people to replace their carbohydrate with a glass of wine if that's their plan, or otherwise it takes from afternoon tea or supper. Then we've got the snack Bible. This is the last item, and it's only available for the Australian market. Apart from being a smaller format, which could fit in your handbag, so you could take it to the supermarket, and I have seen people in the supermarket looking in it, which is pretty funny for me. It also serves as an update to the main Portion Perfection books, so either the purple or the orange. So you'll notice in the Australian versions of the books, there is brand name cereals and there's brand name snacks. But eventually, in a few years' time, all of those brand names might have changed or the packaging looks different. So we bring out the snack Bible every year, sometimes every second year. And it's got the whole cereal section and the snack sections in there. So that's all you need to get to update your content. Mums actually find the snack Bible really helpful, and I use it when I'm working with improving the diets of children. So the mums get the kids to go through the everyday section of the snack Bible and tick all the things that they'd be prepared to have. So then mum has a good list of what they've agreed to consume, and the kids are happy because they're getting what they want. So it's a win-win. So that covers all the components of the system. So when we reflect back on this long list of things that either influence how much we end up eating or influence how hungry we feel, we know that a modest change to multiple components makes a significant difference to the outcome. You don't have to do everything perfectly to get a result. So we've actually aimed to address 5 of them. So the mindful eating, improving the balance of the nutrition, limiting availability of problematic foods, creating a structure to your eating, and controlling the portion size. Now, I have been keeping a bit of an eye on the chat. I'm just going to have a last look here. For any last questions. Well, there is a question about the Nutri-Air. So the Nutri-Air is not our product, but the Nutri-Air is, I feel like I've got one sitting on my desk here somewhere. It's an inhaler. It's a herbal inhaler. So it looks a bit like a, there it is, looks a bit like an e-cigarette, but it hasn't got any of the nasty carriers that, that come in an e-cigarette. It just contains herbs, and they're herbs that are known to have a bit of a craving reducing effect or an appetite suppressing effect. So the recommendation is that you suck on it 5 times before a meal and drink a glass of water. Who knows, maybe it's the drinking the glass of water that does the trick, but people find it quite useful, and whether or not it works as a placebo effect or it's really working probably doesn't matter so long as it's working. Anyway, they're a nice cheap little thing, and some people have found that quite helpful. So is there any last questions? Okay, Ingrid says she's bought some Nutri-Airs and she's not sure about it. Okay, so Ingrid, you've asked if you've gained weight since having a bypass 9 years ago, and I'm going to say it's completely normal to regain some weight after you reach your lowest point. That's a whole other story. And some of it you can't control. You've said, if I started using the bariatric for all meals, would I lose again? Yes, you would. The question mark would be whether or not you've stretched your stomach pouch to a point where 1 cup is not enough for you to feel okay. If that's the case, you should still lose weight using the purple guide. The purple guide may give you too big a volume because that weight loss for women serve is 3 cups. But for anyone who has had bariatric surgery and has gone beyond the 1 cup and feels they've stretched their pouch, there is the potential to not necessarily shrink the pouch, but the potential to calm down the messages that come from not having a stretched stomach pouch. And that's the same for all of us. When you first reduce your food intake, you get messages of hunger. But after maybe 5 days or so, that hunger settles down. It will still try and come back. And that's once you start losing weight, your body will have a go at trying to encourage you to eat more again. So it's damage control during that time and making sure that you listen well enough to your appetite, because it can come back down again, and reducing your volume again as soon as you can. I hope that you will join with us for our webinar series, where we will continue addressing the known issues roughly monthly. We're sending out a survey regarding interest in some of the topics, and also to explore the interest in some paid webinars. You will notice that many of the experts that we draw upon have a paid service of some kind that you can access to explore their issue further. The fact that they have a paid service is usually an indicator that they have some special knowledge or process. And so interested parties taking up that paid service is how they are compensated for developing that expertise and sharing it with us. There are some experts, though, that I would find really valuable to deliver their message to you who do not actually have an offer of a book or a course or a program that compensates their time and their expertise. So as such, we would like to pay them for their presentation. Some topics have a fairly narrow focus, so there'll be just a segment of people who are interested. An example of that is menopause and weight gain. That may not appeal to everybody, or some topics may be of broad appeal. And so we would potentially be able to price it accordingly. Anyway, I'd love it if you could keep an eye out for the survey link in your emails and let me know your thoughts. It's been my pleasure to talk you through all the tools in this session. I hope you've found some value there. Any last questions? I'll just have a look. No, thanks very much. All right, you'll be getting your plates out again. Thank you, Leanne. No bariatric dietitian in Tasmania. I need help a year out. We do telehealth and we're very happy to help. Interested in any bariatric related webinars in the future. Extremely helpful. Yep, definitely some bariatric ones. Any thoughts on the mini pizza bases that are sold at Woolworths, Coles and Aldi? I often use them when I want a single serve pizza treat with some other ingredients. I couldn't actually tell you because it's not something that I'm familiar with. The way I would judge though, if it was here and I could look at it, I would look at the number of calories in that pizza base and decide whether I want to use that much of my meal up. If you're bariatric, there's probably at least 100 calories in there. There would be 100 calories in a flatbread, maybe a mini pizza base, I'm not too sure. Don't know if you know, Chris. Do the Barry portion preppers have Barry advertising on it? I've deliberately not put bariatric advertising on anything except the book clearly states bariatrics because I don't want anyone to buy the wrong one. The booklet that comes with the Barry Prepper says bariatrics, but once you throw away the brochure, no, it just shows you even on the bottom rather than on the side. So it's not visible to anybody what to put in each section. And the same thing with the kit and carry. It's the one kit and carry for everybody, but the Barry kit and carry comes with the bariatric prepper in there. In fact, if you wanted to buy the standard kit and carry and you are bariatric, those sections in the Porti-Prepper are 1 cup, 1 cup, 2 cups. So you could use a 1 cup section and put your food in there, and you could put your snacks in the other sections, or, you know, whatever you want to put in the other sections. So yeah, I'm very aware that nobody wants to communicate to anybody around them at the lunch break that that they're aiming to reduce their intake. I can see Claire, you're on a waiting list for seeing the doctor for bariatric surgery. Should I be using the bariatric portion program or the women's weight loss? Women's weight loss, if it's going to be a while, yeah, the bariatric plan is going to be too small. You won't feel satisfied and it will be too hard to follow through with. All right, thank you. I hope you have a good evening and keep an eye out for the survey. It'll come along soon. Good night.